Well, part of our roles is to get out and to meet with ministers and churches, and after having 2 years of being stuck at home, it was really fabulous that the first trip I was able to make was to Hartlepool and to come and to stay with you and to meet with ministers in the area and spend some time at Hartlepool. So tell us what's going on about Hartlepool, because I think that's supported by Home Mission, isn't it? And how's that work?
Yeah, it's wonderful. We were so grateful that you made us in the MVA your first visit, and what the minister in Hartlepool, Fiona, is doing is an amazing job. So she's supported by Home Mission. She's currently a minister in training, so studying as well. And it was a small church, and they didn't know what to do or how to reach out, and they wanted to move from a Sunday only focus. So they prayed and prayed, and they thought God's calling us to start a youth group. Didn't have any youth, so but they did it because they thought, well, God, we think God is saying this, and now they've got a really thriving youth group in the church. They also then started connecting with other churches. They then all of a sudden were like, how do we reach out to the community? And now do this thing called Bread and Butter, which connects food with people living in poverty within the area. And all of that was made possible by Home Mission. That church would not have been able to have the resources to free Fiona up from a job in order to do that. And I love that, because that's directly when people give, they are giving to the church growing in other areas, and that's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I guess you travel around lots, so you came to us in the MBA, but you also travel around. I was so encouraged by that visit.
It was so amazing. Yeah. But I also think it's whilst local church is really important, and lots of our Home Mission money goes into supporting local churches doing exactly what you've said there, we also try and use some of our Home Mission money sort of regionally, don't we, in order to sort of support a wider network of things. I think a really fab example of that is the work that Carl Smethurst is doing in the South West Baptist Association, encouraging pioneers and pioneering down there. And it's great to see when you have that intentional investment in relationships and some strategic kind of mission thinking about the area, what's happening there. So that's another example of how Home Mission's used in different ways, and we're seeing fruit out of that, so that's good. But again, from the Mission Forum front, are there national things we're doing with our Home Mission money that also are making a difference, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that is so encouraging for me is the appointment of Isabella as the Young Leaders Coordinator. So this came out of Mission Forum. It came out of the association leads discerning together, going, actually, how are we equipping our future leaders and evangelists and people to do mission? And so a bit of work was done, and many of our churches are involved in internships. Actually, Southwest support through Home Mission some interns, and Isabella's appointment was created to kind of support and encourage churches in their internship. So this for me is seeing a future of our Baptist movement, of saying, actually, okay, local church, you may not have the resources to pull us together, but national have set aside Isabella's time and wisdom to really create a structure around you and facilitate you growing leaders in your local context, which is just an absolute wonderful use of Home Mission.
Yeah, and just so before you go on, I'm sure you've got more things to tell us, but one of the things that was amazing about Isabella's appointment and that whole role was that, to me, it was just so of us as Baptists, because it was a kind of, as you say, it was a kind of grassroots initiative, this kind of bubbling up. And then what we were able to do sort of nationally is to coordinate what's there. It's not about imposing something down, like, well, this is what's going to happen, you're all going to do this. It was enabling something to come to fruit, and so able to, to find some money to do this, to use the expertise to form the role. And it's really fab, so that's great. But there might be some other examples of that. I'm kind of thinking of the Hong Kong project, maybe. Is that similar, that drawing together of something that's happening?
Again, that is another thing that's come out of Mission Forum. This is, we want to put evangelism at the heart. And so what happened was, out of Mission Forum was, like, okay, how do we respond? And then we thought, well, actually, how do we equip someone else from the natural context to respond? And so Sharon's appointment was created to have a coordinator for those moving over from Hong Kong to resettle. Some of them are Christians, so we needed help of how do we provide a big welcome and a bigger table for those in local churches. But as a byproduct of creating that welcome, people are coming to faith because they're seeing the love of Jesus in others. And so, that was Mission Forum kind of money that really enabled and facilitated that. And the National Resource of Faith and Societies team and ministry department hold all this together to facilitate the local church, which is wonderful.
And I've seen two really amazing kind of outworkings of that kind of national initiative locally near to where I live. So there's a church near us that has been sort of completely sort of renewed and changed by Hong Kongers coming to join the church, and I went and visited them recently on a Sunday morning, and whole parts of the service, but it was dual in Cantonese and in English, and there was translation, and it was amazing. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. To see God at work in that way. But even in, again, small ways, in my own church last Sunday, there were some people, there was a couple of guys hanging around outside church, and my husband went and spoke to them at the end of the service, and it turned out they were from Hong Kong, didn't have much English, but he was able to take them straight away, meet one of our families that's already joined the church, and they were like, whoa, and they went off gabbling in Cantonese, off to coffee and everything, just to be able to welcome someone who's standing outside the door saying, what time does the service start? And I just thought, wow, this is amazing. So such bringing life to our churches as well, as we hopefully are serving and giving a welcome to people. It's so encouraging.
It is, and all of these are coming out of what people perceive as our structures.
And
actually, I think sometimes we don't realise that actually the Holy Spirit is all over it and in it and infusing. And the beauty of our movement is it's coming from the grassroots. And what's so wonderful to see is national in core leadership team, mission form, a willingness to go, okay, how can we make this happen? This is what our churches are needing, how can we support? And that's wonderful.
And we're grateful to Home Mission as well, if we take it right down to a personal level, I guess. You're not paid as the president, it's a volunteer role. And we're really grateful for the association for releasing you for this role and encouraging you to do that. But your expenses are paid by Baptist Together, and my role is I am supported by Home Mission. So it's us as people, as individuals, that are supported not just in local churches and regionally, but nationally to do the things we want to do, because we're all part of the mission of God.
Absolutely, and no one can ever doubt, I think, after lockdown, the need for that national resource.
Yes.
And actually Home Mission supports that, and if we didn't have Home Mission giving, we would have been in a very difficult situation during lockdown with all the legislations and everything else, so it's a real enabling of the local, which is great.
So it's amazing how this kind of resourcing is releasing the mission of God in so many different ways, locally, regionally and nationally, isn't it? It's just fab, and we can be part of it.